So, a couple little WebBot updates. Been meaning to do this one for at least 3 days now, but the Daily Sheeple has a article: former Trump campaign chair just arrested for child sex trafficking during the campaign. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because didn't the WebBot say, don't be surprised, this was last year, don't be surprised when you find just as many Republicans, if not more, than the Democrats caught up in this type of crap. And this is a former Judge Tim Nolan of California, Kentucky, represents District 5 of the, oh, get rid of that, little pop-up blocking my view. District 5 on the Campbell County School Board. He served at the chair of the 2016 Donald Trump campaign in Campbell County, and he's just been charged with felony child trafficking. Not necessarily him touching, although that's in there too. Trafficking, you know, bringing kids in and out of here and there for those purposes. Did the WebBot say to look for that? Yes, it did. Did it say look for the Republican side of things too? Yes, it did. Okay, this was posted April 24th, 2017. How long ago was it that the WebBot said to look for this stuff? Sure enough, you can't get any more Republican than the most recent president being elected, which was just a few months ago. Pretty incredible. So that's one thing. Someone else sent me something. Quick update you might like. Cliff said in an interview, I think with Greg Hunter, to watch Ripple and Ethercoin the third week in April. So I diversified a little and killed it this week. There's another WebBot hit for Cliff. So we had a slight conversation about a month ago, March 14th, a month and a half ago. Me and this guy. Hello, sir. I hope all is well. Just want to share with you, I too am amazed how spot on WebBot calls Bitcoin. The wife and I have said for years, should have bought at $3, should have bought more at $250, yada yada yada. Here's my Hail Mary. I have a sweet Dodge 4x4 diesel pickup truck I love, and we just paid it off. I dreamed up a plan. Cliff says 13,000 Bitcoin next year with a steady rise. So I refied my Dodge for $35,000. I don't want an out-of-pocket payment anymore, so my payment of $650, I'm going to sell half a Bitcoin every month until next year. With a steady rise, I expect to sell 4 to 5 Bitcoin to cover the next 12 payments. Then in March of 2018, sell 2 or 3 more, maybe depending on forecasts, and hold the rest free and clear with my Dodge title again. So I started the year with 10, bought 28 with my truck money, and expect or hope to still have another 30 next March. A 20 Bitcoin gain for using my head, good credit, and Cliff's WebBot data. He'll also get a cut, he said. If this happens and plays out like he thinks, this guy, he's going to throw Cliff a bone. However, he already replied today, Friday, April 28th, to say, hey, Cliff said in an interview, I think with Greg Hunter, to watch Ripple and Ethercoin, which I also mentioned in my reports, the third week in April. So I diversified a little, and I killed it this week. There's another WebBot hit for Cliff. So, I decided today, not on that news, just earlier, way earlier, that I just, you know, sometimes you just have a feeling inside. And yes, I've got Bitcoin, as you know, I've purchased some. And, of course, I have silver. I'm a big, huge silver fan, in case you didn't know. But something was just hit me this morning that just said, you know, old Snippy, buy some more silver. Today's the day to buy some more silver. Just a little bit more. You know what? Why not? Why not? So I pulled the trigger a little bit more. Remember those bars I showed you from SD Bullion, Silver Doctors, or, you know, SDBullion.com? It was the 10-ounce bars, and it was, and you know, the engraving on the bar or whatever was Jesus whipping the Jewish banksters out of the temple. I like those bars so much I had to go get some more. Just a few. But nonetheless, I had to get some more silver. And prior to that, I bought some silver eagles and thought to myself, yeah, but while I was buying those eagles, I was like, you know, I kind of like those bars, even though they're 10 ounces. A silver eagle's 1 ounce. Doesn't really matter. The thing that I just don't want to do is have a 100-ounce bar. I used to have 2 years and years ago. I sold them, I think, was it 2013? Or before that? Might have even been before that. Actually, I think it was way before that, come to think of it. And I bought them when silver was around $13. Frank also bought, I think, 1. And I think I had 2. And we made the purchase together, so it was 3 silver bars, 100 ounces each. And then when silver was up to like 17 something, I ended up selling mine. Waited a little bit because I was gonna simply just buy 1 ounce coins. Cause I'm like, I'm thinking even if silver got, let's say, you know, the $500-600 never happens, but it goes to 100. 100 times 100. It's $10,000. How many people are going to have $10,000 when you start to see prices like that? In other words, there's some problems in the economy, there's some problems in America when you see $100 silver, much less $300 or $400 silver. So I thought way back then, how the hell am I going to unload this? I'd have to go to a coin dealer, possibly. The coin dealer could have the money, or one of the big guys, one of the big bullion dealers, which ain't none really around here. There is Gainesville Coins, not too far from me. It's actually in Lutz, Florida, even though it's called Gainesville Coins, and there's Gainesville, Florida. But not to be confused, they are not too far from me. Maybe a 35-minute drive. But I thought, oh, well, I could probably unload it there. But again, I just thought I'll sell it. So I ended up buying back a little cheaper. Got some coins back then. I just don't like having a big, giant, heavy bar like that. But I thought, again, same math, 10-ounce bar, $100 silver, $1,000. Someone could come up with that. You know, of course, 1 single ounce would be $100, and I've already got that covered. So I don't know, just something just today telling me, yo, Jay Snip, man, this is your YouTube personality conscience calling you. Why don't you get a few more of those bars? The Jesus bars. Whipping the bankers out of the temple. I love that. And anyway, so that's one thing. Other news today. Quick look surprised. Congress kicked the can for a week. So we don't have to tackle the spending bill, debt ceiling nonsense. We're going to give ourselves a little extra time. We're going to do it a week later. But what else happened? The president thinks we're going to be signing, he's going to be signing the new law, repeal and replace Obamacare. Because remember, they've been saying from day one, in order to do the tax cut plan, there are certain things in the Obamacare bill that must be repealed, replaced, in order for it to make sense and work in conjunction with the tax plan. It has to be that way. Which is why there's no talk on the tax plan today of even kind of taking a vote. Nope. They've got to deal with Obamacare first. Then they can deal with the tax plan and, of course, the debt ceiling. We may find next week that they deal with the debt ceiling, but you know, if a fire is to be lit under these congressmen members' butts, North Korea may have to hit one of our aircraft carriers, wink, wink, you know, to get their emotionals going so that Trump will get everything he wanted passed. The largest defense budget ever. Me and Frank were talking about this at lunch. And I reminded Frank, look, Frank, remember the Gulf of Tonkin incident, the Korean thing? Our ally Israel attacked us, blamed it on the enemy, and the president told the fleet commander, whatever, admiral, turn those planes around. In other words, don't go and stop the ship from being attacked and help it. Turn those planes around. That goddamn ship has to sink, end quote. So you want to get some stuff passed? Oh, the pesky North Korean dictator did this. He was an idiot. And again, either A, he will, because he's going to be felt like a dog being backed into a corner. We're surrounding him now. There's all this talk that we're going in, baby. We are going in. 100 senators pulled into the White House. We're going to, you know, the Korean issue. Russia's reporting that it just took a turn for the worst. Oh, my gosh. And your little Kim over there in Korea, North Korea, little Kim, I'm going to have to go out with a bang. She bang. She bang. And then we'll get the biggest budget, far bigger than what anybody planned, even Trump. It'll be even larger than he thought. See, this is why our Navy needs to be rebuilt. This can, oh my God, okay, we're sorry, Congress. We're sorry, we're sorry. We're sorry. Pass the bill, pass the budget, do it all. Well, my question is, what's going to happen to the stock market if a U.S. carrier got nailed and sank? Not just injured, right? Not just injured or, you know, repairable. Nailed beyond repair and sank off the coast. Pictures and video. You're going to see CNN and CNBC, especially CNN. They'll have their chopper on standby over there somehow. How the hell did you guys get your chopper over there? The event just happened. Oh, don't worry about that. You know, we kind of knew it was going to happen. Live coverage. There's people in the sea. You know, they're abandoning ship. It's on fire. There's smoke. Oh my gosh. The biggest debt passing nonsense you've ever seen in your life will get passed. The military industrial complex defense budget, as I've always told you year after year, you will never, ever, ever see budget cuts in that department, no matter what anybody says. And Trump said, I need at least $56 billion. And by the way, I'm going to need a little bit more than that, more than likely. We're going to need some more than, he didn't say a little bit more. It'll be higher than that, more than likely. That's a starting point. And if an event like that happens, you may see up $200 billion on top of the current, you know, where we're at, 600 something, 650 billion, make it 850 billion. Now we're spending a year on defense. And as I said before, first time it took us to get to $1 trillion in the history of this country, 200 years or so plus, 1980, first $1 trillion racked up, most of which was done between 1970 and 80. But nonetheless, we've got to go back all the way. So first time we had $1 trillion was over 200 years. Reagan gets in. He did a tax cut too, but he also spent a lot of money too, and he had the savings and loan banking crisis. The same crap that happened in 2008 here happened back in the 80s. Savings and loan crap, mortgage problems too, and they had to have a bailout too. But it wasn't even kind of close, not even on the same planet close as the one we did in 2008. Which brings me to where we are now. So 1980, first trillion. By the year 2000, it was 3 or 4 trillion. I think it was 3 trillion. Well, no, actually, no, I think it was more than that, because I think after Reagan left it was around 3 trillion. Got to 6 trillion. Maybe it was up to 6 trillion in 2000. 6 trillion. Bush leaves office. It's 9 trillion just 8 short years later. Obama takes over. It's 10 to 20 trillion. We add an additional 10 trillion in 8 years. Okay? And now Trump's in office, and they're saying just to do these 3 main things we keep talking about that keep getting pushed off is already $5 trillion. Like, they've already got figured out it's going to be $5 trillion right off the bat. We need to kick this debt ceiling up. We don't need to kick it up a notch or 2. We need to kick it up 5 notches. $5 trillion. And he ain't even out of his first year. Could you imagine if this happens? The amount of money that will be spent. It'll be absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And again, the time window keeps shortening and shortening and shortening, but the ballooning of the deficit is expanding quicker in a shorter amount of time, of course. Bigger, quicker, shorter amount of time. Which, as I said the other day, brings me to like my 0 point theory. What happens when we hit 0 point, when you can just keep printing and printing, but there's no real effect anymore? All we're doing is paying the interest payment, nothing else. This is the equivalent of a credit card maxed out that somehow, by flicking a magic wand, you increase the amount available of credit. The credit available. starts off at, you know, a trillion. Next thing you know, it's 5 trillion, 10 trillion, 20 trillion. It just keeps going. But you, the credit card person, consumer who's paying the credit card, your numbers are pretty much staying the same. You know, your income, it's pretty much staying the same. And by the way, because you keep having to add to that available credit, you got to pay for a lot of things, a lot more things, and they're becoming more expensive, and there's new additional things coming online that you got to pay for, which is why you have to keep raising that bar. Not only that reason, but because you have a Federal Reserve System in place that says every dollar you print has interest attached no matter what. So you can never pay it off. But then you have the incredible spending needed on top of it, which is making those banksters really, really rich. So how does this end? I think you and I know how it ends. And maybe that was why I had that gut feeling today. J Snip, just pull the trigger on a little more silver. Just do it, just in case. Because again, what if this time you pick some good stocks and you make out like a bandit when everything else is crashing, and because so much is crashing, you can't really get your money out of the brokerage firm you're signed up with, because they're, as I've said, they're giving out margin calls to all the people who lost the bet, and they were leveraged, some of them, and now they're getting margin calls, and they don't have the money because the other assets they're liquidating to get the money to meet the margin call are failing miserably too, because the whole market's crashing. See, it doesn't end well. Then you have an MF Global situation where you're left with a big fat IOU. Now the difference between MF Global is they stole their customers' money and gambled with it themselves and lost the bet. The difference here is these brokerage firms, and you may find out maybe some of them are also gambling like MF Global was, which causes catastrophic losses and catastrophic bankruptcy. But let's assume they don't do that, and it's just a person. They're not touching the segregated accounts. They're leaving them alone. They're yours. It's your business. You know, they're not touching it. They just want their little fee for every transaction you make, like they always do. But because the market's crashing everywhere, you can't get out. They fold anyways because they can't meet the margin requirements, because these brokers are just a middleman to a larger bank like JP Morgan, you know, Chase, whatever, Bank of America, whatever, these big banks. They're just kind of the middleman. And if the middleman, who also has a line of credit with the big boys, can't meet their requirements all of a sudden, they're cut off, and the bank's telling them, you owe us this much money. And since we're the big #1 creditor on the books, you're going to liquidate everything you have to pay us first. And then if there's anything left over, then you can pay out the people who won the bets on their brokerage accounts and pay them whatever else you got. Which, of course, you're not just going to do that. You're going to have to be sued. It'll have to be set up in bankruptcy court, and you're going to be fighting this. You're going to have to hire an attorney and a class action lawsuit. And when all that's happening, I'm going to be sitting back here flipping coins. Cha-ching. Cha-ching. Oh, that's right. This is in my possession. It wasn't in the online system. It wasn't in the bankster's paper system. I am completely unaffected. And that's the other thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like a commodity. It's like silver or gold. You can't have a bunch of people betting online, you know, like buying shares of Bitcoin, and then, oh, I got to liquidate and sell off my shares, and it caused Bitcoin to completely crash. I mean, yeah, you could have a flood of people selling Bitcoin all of a sudden, and yes, it would bring the price down. But the people in Bitcoin aren't the big institutional banksters. It's people like you and me, individuals. So we're not going to see this mass sell-off happen in Bitcoin like you would on the overall markets. And even so, it's not a share, it's an actual Bitcoin. You got to own one to even buy it, to even sell the thing to begin with. And if the stock market starts crashing, it has nothing to do with Bitcoin at all. It's not attached to that system. Is it possible that the price of gold and silver would crash if the markets crash? Of course. It did in 2008. We saw it. And then they started climbing in 2011, got to epic proportions highs, and then they crashed it. But again, I believe that was a rig job to teach everybody to stay away from this. You're going to get your $50 again like in 1980, and then it's going to crash so hard you're never going to want to play this game again. Except year after year after year after that, we kept breaking records of sales of precious metals, especially silver. So, man, I can't shake this whole Korea thing and how it could be used as an excuse, and you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff happening rapid fire this year, more so. I mean, let's think about this, 2016, 2015. It was like every year after 2012, even including 2012, was just a little more exciting, a little more action happening all over the place and everything. And then each year was a little bit more. And 2017 is not even kind of disappointing in that realm. Boy, oh boy. And what if next week they still can't come to a debt ceiling agreement because they don't want to deal, they're not happy with Donald Trump's repeal and replace Obamacare, so that because they're not happy with that, they're not going to do the debt ceiling, and they don't want to do the tax thing after that, and it just gets held up, and we actually have a government shutdown that's of some type of length that causes markets to get shaky, and then all of a sudden Korea does an incredibly crazy move and attacks one of our ships, our carriers, and the markets are crashing and plummeting on both sets of bad news. And I'm sitting here telling you way in advance that this is a year for all that to happen. It's on the charts, the cycles, it's there. We have the September 23rd date, 2017, this big astronomical alignment, which is like tied to the birth of Jesus, all this stuff. Which again is why I always say that whole religion stuff is astrological. That's to me what they're just showing you a story of these people. That's why they have a sun or a planet behind their heads all the time, to remind people this is a planetary alignment. Look at the picture. Notice where everybody's standing in the picture, and that's an astronomical alignment in the future that you need to pay attention to. And if you need to know what we're talking about, read the Bible, Book of Revelations, and other things to figure out what we mean. Which is why I think this year could be the year it all goes down. Take care.